So in your spiral notebook, you're just going to simply write the title parallel and perpendicular. So our topic is on parallel and perpendicular lines, and so you're going to be writing equations that are either parallel to another line or perpendicular to another line. And I'm sure you guys know what parallel lines look like. It just looks like, two lines that never intersect, or it could be three lines, as long as they're all parallel. Perpendicular lines, they actually intersect, and when they do, they form what we call a right angle, and it's probably not a really straight line. Okay, but perpendicular lines intersect, and when they do, they form a right angle. Okay, that's what perpendicular means. All right, there's a symbol for perpendicular that looks like an upside down T. That's the symbol that we use. And for parallel, it just looks like two lines right beside each other. That's the symbol for parallel and perpendicular. Okay, now, what you'll be asked to do is determine if two lines are parallel, and I'll show you how to do that. So one fact you need to know, parallel lines have the same slopes. Okay, that's an important fact. So they will have the same slopes. So you can sometimes, obviously, because you guys know what y equals mx plus b, and you know what point slope form looks like. So I could give you two equations and ask you if they're parallel or not. So I could write this down. So if I say negative 2x plus 3, would that be parallel to negative 2x plus 4? And you would say yes, because the slopes are the same. Okay, that's how you tell if they're parallel, if they have the same slope. Okay, I could also put it in point slope form. Let's say we had something like y minus 8 equals 2 times x plus 3. And then I say y minus 6 equals 2 times x minus 4. And I ask you, are those lines parallel? What would you say? Yes, because again, they have the same slope. Okay, that's how you tell if lines are parallel or not. They must have the same slopes. Okay, so before we get to perpendicular, we're going to do an example of writing an equation that's parallel to another equation. So let's write an equation. And I'm going to use the symbol for parallel to the given equation. So I'm going to give you an equation, of course. And passes through the given point. And this is very similar to your directions for homework. Okay, so like you have to write an equation that's parallel to a given equation and passes through a specific point. Right? So example 1. I'm going to give you an equation. Let's say the equation is y equals 3x plus 4. It really doesn't matter what the y-intercept is. That's not going to be important. But I do want it to pass through the point 4, negative 2. So you're going to be given two things. You're going to be given an equation, and you're going to be given a point. And you have to write another equation that will be parallel to this. Okay? So just think about what I said. So you have to write an equation that's parallel to this equation, but will go through that point. Right? So how do you do that? So this is what you're going to do. You're going to take the slope from the given equation. Now, why are we using the same slope? Because what did I tell you at the beginning? Parallel lines have the same slope. So I do know that this line that I'm looking for has to have a slope of 3. True? Yes, has to have a slope of 3 because it's parallel. So now I know two things. It doesn't even matter what this is. Doesn't even matter. That's like extra information they're giving you. All you need to know is what the slope is, right? That +4 or plus whatever, it doesn't even matter what it is. It could be plus 100. It doesn't matter. It's not important. Okay? Now that you know these two pieces of information, the slope and a point, what form do you think I'm going to put it in? Point slope form. All right? It just makes sense to put it in point slope form. And then we're going to solve it for y because my final answer needs to be in slope intercept form. But that's the easy part. Okay? So since you're going to have a quiz in a minute and you have to know point slope form anyway, who can take this point, which is 4, -2, and this slope of 3 and write this in point slope form? Okay?
Y minus 2.
All right, wait a minute. Now -2 or +2?
So
Y plus 2 equals, what's my slope?
3
3 times x what?
minus 4.
-4. Okay? So you're going to have to do that in a second on your quiz where you got to take the point and slope, and all you're doing is dropping the numbers where they go in point slope form. Okay? Any questions on that part? Point slope? Okay, now we're not done because now we want to solve it for y. So we have to distribute this out. So I'm going to have y plus 2. And you can see how this whole unit just ties together. Okay, and then solve for y. I just subtract 2 to the other side. Y equals 3x. Yes. Yes. I said 14. This should be a 12. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll subtract 2, and that's going to give me -14. Now, if you wanted to check this, because it's always good to know how to check to see if your answer is correct, you could actually put this onto your graphing calculator. Okay, everybody go ahead and hit your y equals key. This is how you check to see if it passes through the point that we want it to pass through. Okay, that point was 4, -2. So I want you to go to y equals, put in 3x minus 4, and I want you to go to the table and see if you actually see that point. Then you'll know your answer is correct if it passes through that point. How many people see the point? Okay, that means we did it right. Okay, that's how you check. Go to everybody knows how to do second graph to get to the table, and then go where x is 4, see if it pairs up with -2. All right, so we're going to do one more of these, and then we're going to do 2 perpendicular ones. So let's do another one. Same setup. This time I'm going to give you the equation in point slope form. So everybody write this down. Okay, so here's my equation in point slope form, and here's my point that I want this parallel line to go through. Okay, so I want to write an equation that is parallel, and I'm going to put the equation in slope-intercept form like I just did in example 1. So what am I getting from them telling me that this is the equation? There's only one piece of information you want to grab from this whole point slope form, Jade. The slope. Okay? Everything else doesn't even matter. Okay? This doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. I just need the slope. It's the only thing you're getting from that whole thing is the slope. So now I'm ready to put it into what form? Point slope form. So how do I do that? Who can help me? Okay? All right, go ahead. Y minus 6 equals -4
X plus 2.
All right, there's my point slope form. Right, now I'm going to solve it for solve for y. We're going to go ahead and distribute this out. So y minus 6 equals -4x minus 8. And now all you got to do is move the 6 over to the other side. So y equals -4x minus 2. You can check it on your calculator by putting this into the calculator and making sure that it goes through the point, -2.6. That's how you can check it. Okay. So for tonight's homework, guys, I want you to use your own calculator to see if your homework answers are correct. Okay, there's no reason you should not be able to punch your answer in and check to see if it goes through that point. Okay, all right. Now, we did a couple on parallel. What was the other line I told you? Perpendicular. So let's do perpendicular. Now, do you really think perpendicular is going to have the same slope? No. Okay, both of them can't have the same slope. This should be a U. All right, so for perpendicular, the slopes, to get a perpendicular slope, I'm going to use the symbol for perpendicular and M for slope. That means you change the sign, and there are two things you got to do. Change the sign and take the reciprocal. Now, the reciprocal means you reverse the numerator and denominator. Okay, so there are two things you have to do. Change the sign and take the reciprocal. Let's just practice on that part for a second. So if I gave you this as the original slope, if I gave you, let's say, 2/3, what will be the slope that's perpendicular to that? Okay, so change the sign and then take the reciprocal. What will be my new perpendicular slope? -3/2. Very good. That means you change it from a positive to a negative and you reverse the numerator and denominator. Okay, let's do another one. What if I give you the slope is 5? Let's say -5. Okay, what would be the perpendicular slope? Okay, if it's just -5. So think of this as -5/1. Okay, all right, Dylan. What would it be? All right, +1/5. Very good. So you go from a negative to a positive, and you reverse the numerator and denominator. Are we okay with that? Yes? Okay, so now we're going to do some examples with perpendicular. So here's example 1. So I'm going to give you this in slope-intercept form, 3/5 x -10. Doesn't even matter, again, what the other number is. It's not even important, okay? All right, so, and I'm going to say it needs to pass through the point 0, 2. All right, I want it to go through 0, 2. So what am I getting from this equation that they give me? The slope. Who can tell me what the perpendicular slope would be? Okay, what would be the perpendicular slope? -5/3. Very good. So you take the opposite sign and reciprocal. All right. After that, we're going to put it in point slope 4. Correct? Point slope 4. All right, and this is good to help you practice because you got to do your quiz in a minute. Who can actually show me how to do point slope form? Okay, I actually had you do the other two. Who can help me out? Somebody else? Okay, go ahead here.
Y plus 5.
All right, here's my point. The y coordinate is what?
Y minus 0 equals. Oh.
All right, y minus 2?
Y minus 2 equals -5/3.
And then x minus 0. And really, guys, we don't do x minus 0. We just say x. We're done. Okay? You don't need to do this. All right? We don't need to do that. We just say -5/3 x. All right? So let's just do that. Okay. So what do I do now? Solve it for y. So how do I solve this for y? Add 2 to the other side. That's it. Y equals -5/3 x plus 2. And you're done. So the only thing you're getting from the equation that they give you is the slope. Okay? All right, we're going to do one more, and then we'll be done. Here's your equation in point slope form this time. All right, so here's the equation. Pretend like that's the equation they give you for your homework. They tell you it must go through the point 4, 2, and it's perpendicular. You got to write an equation that's perpendicular to this. Okay, so what are we grabbing from this equation? Who can give me the correct perpendicular slope? What is the perpendicular slope? Okay, go ahead. -2. Very good. That means you change the 1/2 to positive and you reverse it. Okay, you got to take the reciprocal. That means flip it. Okay, so it's -2. Who can put this in point slope form for me? All right, Hashbrook. Y minus 2, -2. Excellent. Okay, times x minus 4. Now we can go ahead and solve it for y. Okay, add 2. And we have y equals -2x plus 10. Okay. All right, any questions on that? Okay, alrighty guys. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is just take a look at your quiz review to see if you have any questions before we get started, okay? Yeah,
We need to close the pilots.
not today. We don't have time. Fire drill messed us up.
What do you do with the versus X?
What I do with them? They're right here.
And I know, but what are we gonna do?
Oh, and that's an explanation. Yeah.